Now we are moving to addresses from the European Commission, and we will start from Francesca Maltauro, that I would like to welcome on stage. Francesca is Deputy Head of Unit of Digital Education at the Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture at the European Commission. Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing me, Director General for Education. And thank you to Marco Durando, Executive Director of European SchoolNet, for inviting me here today. I'm really happy to be here. And I realized there is really little that I can add in my speech to what you have already said. Marco Durando, you have basically already provided a lot of input on all the Commission is has been working on in the field of digital education. And you, Director General, have really explained very well the why we should focus on the digital well-being in education, and also what is the added value of having technologies in education. So those were two of the things I wanted to talk about. I will just take them out from my speech. And you have already also mentioned the evidence that we have. A lot of research has been conducted, especially in the last few years, on mental health, and especially the mental health of young people. There is I was doing some research on this evidence to see what the concept of well-being more broadly had to tell me compared to what we are doing in the European Commission, because we are really now focused on the digital well-being, but I wanted to see a little bit broader concept. And there has been one research that has popped up thanks to the algorithm, because I was doing this research, and it's called the Global Flourishing Study, published 3 weeks ago. It's a big project of the Harvard University, including many countries in the world, so it's a global study which actually confirms what we have seen as research results coming from the WHO, from the OECD and UNESCO, that the mental health of young people is not really well. And also is a longitudinal study, so comparing to previous years, what they have seen is that there used to be a curve. So young people used to be a bit happier, going less well during adulthood, let's say young adulthood, and then being happy again as of 50. I think we are more concerned from the second part, or towards the second part of the U-curve, so we are rather lucky. But what they have seen in the last years is that this starting point of the U-curve, where younger people were happier, is now flat. So young people are not feeling well, and they do still feel better and better while growing in age. Digital technologies, and especially what has already been mentioned, the amount of screen time spent on social media platforms, addiction to social media platforms, have been connected also in this last research, no surprise, to this lack or decrease in well-being, in flourishing, which is even broader than well-being. I found that a very interesting concept. And why? Especially because it leads to disconnection in terms of isolation from the rest of the world, from human contacts, and disengagement from society. I think this is very important when we think about digital well-being, because we also know that moderate interaction with social media, with digital technologies, have a positive impact on our well-being. It helps us stay connected, talk to family who is far. I live in Brussels, but my family is in Italy. I cannot imagine not talking to them through WhatsApp or keeping in touch with my friends. So the moderate use, we know it's correlated with positive impact, and the excessive and addictive use is, of course, connected with very negative impact. And then research has also looked into what happens in schools, because we are talking here about school-aged, either children or young people. And of course, we know that well-being influences the ability to learn. So if they are not well, they will not have good results at school. This is why, I suppose, why we are all of us here today, is because we are interested in that part, and we want to take action in our different roles and capacities. The European Commission has started since a while now to look at an holistic approach to education that takes into account digital well-being, that fosters digital well-being. One initiative that I would wanted to mention is the Pathways to Schools Success, which takes into account this broader view of well-being as the result of a supporting environment at school where the students feel safe and heard, as this boosts motivation, engagement, and cognitive development. And in the Commission, we are very often asked the question, so what do you do with the digital technologies when we know what their impact is, because the studies tell us that they are correlated to mental health issues, anxiety, depression, mood disorders, and so on. But I already explained excessive use. And why do you promote this? And I think Director General Souza already explained very well the why. And you said, Director General, we should focus on the how. And I agree with you. This is what I had on the speech. How? I think today we are here to talk about the how. We are all experts in the field. We know the what, we know the why, but maybe we can still discuss, and we should still discuss the how. And the how revolves around digital well-being. How to foster that environment that supports our students and allow them to flourish. In 2022, the Council adopted its first conclusions, you mentioned them, Mark, on digital well-being. Those are very strategic ones, and it was the first time that the Council adopted conclusions on that topic. They call member states on strengthening learners' and educators' well-being when designing national policies and strategies in digital education. They called on paying attention to the balance between online and offline learning, and also on fostering resilience and empowering young people by offering meaningful learning experiences. I think meaningful is the key word there. And the Commission has also contributed to achieving these Council conclusions, achieving the objective of what the Council conclusions wanted to convey. For instance, we have been working, DG EAC and the JRC, the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, on a model of emerging practices as to how best promote digital well-being in education. There was the validation workshop last week. I think we will hear more on this topic, so I will not explain further, but final results are expected soon. There has also been an expert group on well-being at school, which produced 2 sets of guidelines, recommendation, and a self-assessment tool that has been launched last week on our European School Education platform, a self-assessment tool on inclusion and well-being. So this is how we are supporting the member states with tools and with guidance on how to work on digital well-being at school. We are also then providing direct support to teachers, because we think that, of course, we need to support teachers through guidelines on the ethical use of AI in education. AI has been mentioned not too often so far, but it is a word that we hear more and more. And also guidelines on tackling disinformation and digital literacy. And we are now working on the update of those guidelines, because a lot of development has occurred between the time they were released in 2022, just before ChatGPT, and now. So we are now working on the update of those two sets of guidelines. Also in the field of disinformation, a lot has happened lately. So by the end of the year, they will be ready. And we are working on two new sets of guidelines on digital education content, because there is a lot of discussion on the digital technology, so on the means, but the content and the quality of the content is also very important. What is taught, not only how, that means through the digital technology. And also guidelines on the teaching of high-quality informatics, because very often informatics, or at least in some member states, is a disregarded subject. There is a lack, there is a shortage of qualified teachers, and we thought there was the need there to open a discussion on the importance, the strategic importance of teaching informatics at school. All of this work has happened in the context of the Digital Education Action Plan. This is our flagship initiative in education. My unit is responsible for this plan. And the plan has 13 actions. It has almost come to an end. Implementation of the plan has almost come to an end. So last year we started a review process to see the impact that we have achieved through our Digital Education Action Plan, and also to look at emerging and new priority areas that we would need to focus on in the next part of our work, which will probably take the form of a roadmap on the future of digital education and skills. We have run a lot of consultations with stakeholders, including, I suppose, many of you. In the roadmap that will be released at the end of this year as part of the Union of Skills initiative, there will be an important part which will be devoted to digital well-being. This is for sure, it has emerged, and we are going to carry out more work on this topic. This is why I am so excited to be here today, because I will take inspiration from all the discussions. And I thank you once again for inviting me here. Thanks a lot. Can I say just one last word? Because I had to basically redo all my speech, but there's one thing. On the 24th of June, we are holding the Digital Education Stakeholder Forum. There is the possibility to follow the forum online, so you're all very welcome to connect if you want to hear more about what the Commission plans to do. Thanks a lot.